and those same claws were very powerful. Pound for pound, its arms are more powerful than the Indominus party. And when it comes to bite force, it can cleanly cut off
Okay, all right. I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. Like that. Hi, I'm Guy. I got a doozy for y'all. Damn, stuttering crazy. Anyway, I got a doozy for y'all today. Still stuttering crazy. Anyway, this is the Elder Mimic versus the Indoraptor, or better yet, look at the title. Why the Indoraptor versus the Elder Mimic isn't even close. Now, for those of you who don't know, the Elder Mimic is from this analog horror called Vita Carnis. It hunts people, sometimes bulletproof, but this thing is also kind of bulletproof. It's crazy. Didn't know this was a talking point, but yeah, this is made by Rad Stuff, or Rad Stuff with his X in the original video link is in the description, bro. If you like this, subscribe, like, all that jazz. Yeah, let's get to 500 or 100 at least subs, baby. And yeah, that's about it. Let's get this shit, baby. Yup, creepy ass shit. Creepy ass shit. Damn. Yee.
Alright, I've covered many different analog horror videos and just stories as a whole on the channel. And
That's
while some are
annoying,
off-putting or uneasy, there's one that still makes me feel very uncomfortable to this day. For some of my OG audiences, you know what verse I'm talking about. No analog horror I've covered can beat this in terms of fear factor. There was one that came sorta close recently, being that one backroom found footage from Ruster, but even that cannot compare to the Elder Mimic from the Vita Carnis universe, described as God's ultimate predator warrior by the cult. It's the most unsettling thing in the verse despite there being much more powerful forces there. It's extremely intelligent, very durable, took 5 or so SWAT members just to bring one down, and it can be very, very malicious. But it is one single reason why this entity terrified me more than any other I've reviewed, and that's because it only targets people. I mean that literally. You could put a stake in front of it, hell, even a deer could walk right in front of this thing and it would ignore the buck. This thing only targets humans, and the tape where
which is crazy, like, because there is most definitely better options that you could have hunted down on to like fill your body. Like, this feels like extremely, well, it is completely targeted, let's make that abundantly clear, but still, like, damn. Also, would y'all want me to react to Vita Carnis? I don't know. I just
researcher wanted to go into an isolated place to document mimics. You can see just how powerful and malicious it was. Singh was straight up mocking the guy by repeating his cries. Why am I bringing this up? Well, yesterday or the day before, I can't remember, there was a very interesting suggestion by someone in the comments, and it's whether or not the Elder Mimic from Vita Carnis could defeat the smartest carnivore in the Jurassic verse, being the Indoraptor. There could be the argument that the Indominus or Jurassic Park tree raptors are smarter, but just because of its malice and deliberate actions to cause suffering, I'd say the Indoraptor is a bit smarter. I can't believe I never thought about it, but the matchup is high-key interesting. They're both comparable in size, extremely durable, and for whatever reason, want to induce suffering in their human victims before killing them sometimes. So in this video, I'm going to be putting what the cult calls—
yeah, but depending on who you ask, one has slightly worse writing for plot reasons, so, you know,
God's ultimate warrior against ancient sociopath. Now, if you're new here, hit that subscribe button and join the Discord in the description. Trying to get to 300k by the end of the year. Someone said the link apparently isn't working, but when I checked it was. But nevertheless, I'll replace to no one. I will say though that you guys watching this is plenty enough for me. The fact that you want to watch me yap on these types of scenarios makes my day. And tomorrow will be another analog horror review, since it's been a thing for the past month now.
Yeah, baby!
Anyway, I've rambled on long enough for the intro. Let's get into the video. Oh, and check out Darren Quilloy. He's the creator of the Vita Carnis verse. Like most of these matchups, I won't do a whole deep dive into the lore because there are many other videos for that, but I will do a brief summary of the combatants' origin before I list their abilities. So in the Vita Carnis verse, these weird flesh creatures have started to appear on Earth. They weirdly enough fit themselves into the natural ecosystem too, with some being completely harmless to humans and actually helping the environment, to others who—
that's, damn. I was going to say that little dude, this little dude, that's what happened when it get cold outside for my boy. It's cold outside. It's good. What I do is it gonna get cold, nigga. It did get cold. Shit, it's too fucking hot nowadays.
Humans and actually helping the environment, to others who are active predators and will only target people. They all come from these flesh-like structures called the crawl, but the most dangerous by far are the mimics. In their smallest stage, they do start to eat small animals and scavenging, but when they reach a certain size, their diet switches to people only. Now, the normal mimics are scary enough since they sometimes blend into society and even hide in tight spaces without people even seeing them. But then there's the two final stages of this animal, well, Singh. The first is that after one consumes a certain amount of humans, they develop very human-like features. Human hair on the head, a more human face, and they basically blend into crowds in public. But then there's a second. When a mimic eats too many humans or much more than usual, they turn into an elder mimic. This thing, unlike the other two types, does not look even remotely to a human aside from the human-like shape. Their skin becomes pitch black and is very durable, as their teeth are now located basically in the throat, where they used to strip humans to the bone. The reason they changed so much is because they now understand humans to the level that only other humans could understand them. There was a researcher called Farron who went to an isolated location to document mimic activity, but unfortunately, an elder mimic was stalking the area and ended up hunting him. And this elder mimic
that's like how unlucky you gotta be to have literally, you know what it's like? It's like being like a scout for like Frieza's army, going around like the Dragon Ball city, like the Dragon Ball like Earth and all that jazz, and having like Ultra Instinct Goku stalking you, watching your every move as you're like scouting about like who you can make into soldiers and slaves and all that. Meanwhile, his ass is just following. Like, you couldn't have gotten anybody worse to start following you, bro.
Tortured this guy to the very end, so much to the point where he begged for it to come and kill him basically. So yeah, that's the brief lore. It's basically a menace in every way, shape or form. So let's get into the stats. There isn't much feasting to sing because elder mimics are so rare that documentation is very limited on what they're really capable of. But we do have some statements. Earlier I said that it took a SWAT team, but after rewatching the entire tape and yeah, checking Reddit, this is just a fan theory from what I've seen. The only statement was in Terminal Rally was when Barnes said one was killed a few years ago, so more than likely it was gunned down. So yeah, I'm gonna have to take away the SWAT team feats, but it is very resistant to gunfire. Its skin is much thicker and can take rounds from certain firearms, with the only real vulnerable part being the face, something like the Death Angel when they open up. But even then, they can still tank some damage, because Farron shot one in the face with a pistol, and all I did was stumble back and scream in pain. But near the end we hear multiple rounds being fired. Now some likely missed because Farron at this point had been driven into madness. It also has the ability to break down barricaded doors at will whenever it wants. It only waited so long to do so because it wanted to torture the researcher. The only other
which again, I feel like they don't even have to eat, because like you're literally just playing with your food. I know cats do it as well, but like this, if I remember right, this dude was in here for like days, weeks, if I remember right. You're like holding back your food source because you want torture? No, you don't need to eat no more.
The issue we have in it is that it has superhuman strength and is 10 feet tall, with one documented photo taken a while back. As for the weight, based on their slender frame and musculature,
you busy torturing me, bitch. Get in the league with your bothering ass.
Could be anywhere from 800 to 1400 pounds, basically a large Kodiak bear. So even though the SWAT thing apparently is just a rumor in the fan base, the fact that Farron said they, meaning multiple people, had to be sent out to kill one, brings the scaling up a bit higher. One thing that is well documented, however, is the intelligence. Since they now look nothing like humans, basically compared to the other mimics, they have to rely on other memes, mimicking voices, stalking for days or even weeks to learn patterns on different individuals, and so on. When Farron set up those recorders or sensors around the house, the elder mimics sense that because the current species can, sense radio waves, but the other mimics don't really care and would just trigger the sensors. The elder somehow knew what they were for, and crawled for hours to make sure the sensors did not pick it up, so it would reach Farron without him knowing. And then after Farron saw it, it waited by the door for who knows how long until the researcher opened it up. Then it spent days breaking this man down mentally, mocking him and screaming and muttering different phrases, and in one instance it decided to open the door early and got shot in the face and backed off for a while. But then it spent 30 days making this guy suffer, making him go into madness so maybe he won't be able to use the gun as effectively, and eventually it just broke down the door and killed him. And Farron, who was now fully insane.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I'm not letting you take me out. I refuse. You sat outside my door for days, an entire month. It was like what did it say? He said like a weeks and like a month after that. Wrong thing. And a month after that. No, I'm taking myself off the census. I'm not giving you the satisfaction. In fact, I have a propane tank right here. We both finna die. I ain't going out alone.
After being trapped for 30 days, welcomed it with open arms to kill him. But that goes to show it could have broken out the door at any time, but it just wanted to make the guy suffer. And it left him in a bloody mess, stripping the flesh from his bones basically. What's crazy is that when researchers came to find the stuff, almost all the recording equipment was removed, which could either have been the mimic's doing or the cult. But if I had to guess, I'd say it was the mimic. This would be a way to ensure humans know less and less about their behavior, so they won't be as well equipped. Only that one camera was left which showed us the footage, and when it comes to speed, I think it's stated to be over 40 kilometers per hour. Not a direct speed, but seeing that normal mimics can't push faster and the elder mimic is superior in every single way, aside from looking human, it's more likely 50 kilometers per hour more. So you have this 10-foot tall bolt resistant monster that specifically only eats humans, but would that be enough to withstand an animal that was made to be used in human wars? The Indoraptor, well, the one we saw in the film, was meant to be the prototype for ones that would be more mentally stable and able to better follow instructions, but it physically had the same abilities as the future ones they're about to make. But the thing is that it was still extremely intelligent. It was just a bit messed up because of all the torture and punishment it had to go through to perform certain tricks like tracking the laser and buzzing when it went off. Before we get into its sick head however, let's talk about some strength feats. It can toss an almost 400-pound raptor straight across the room during a struggle, and can pull its 1-ton weight up after almost falling to its death the first time. And when it comes to durability, we get much better visuals than the opponent.
Did y'all watch this movie or no? I don't know. I didn't watch the movie. The only thing I remember from this damn movie is that fucking Owen was this is the one with the volcano, right? This was the one where where Owen was like near the volcano, and that shit was like right at his ankle, and he should have been burned alive. Hell, his shit should have been catch on fire, but it just didn't.
Owen fired multiple rounds into the thing's body from an assault rifle, and all this was knock some of the wind out of the stomach because the shells just come off of the skin, and the hybrid stands over Owen like, is that all you got? And he also takes bites and scratches from a raptor that was able to pierce the Indominus Rex's hide. And weirdly enough, no blood was seen in his skin, and those same claws were very powerful. Pound for pound, its arms are more powerful than the Indominus party. And when it comes to bite force, it can cleanly cut off the
alright, I feel like that's a little bit of a stretch. Like that, alright, look, okay, that the Indominus is fucking huge. Let's not get crazy.
Being put into it. So this thing can tank strong gunfire and has the ability to easily dispatch a human. We saw it straight up tackle 2 guards at once and just kills them. But like the Elder Mimic, the greatest thing about a hybrid is the intelligence. The animal has faked being tranked out more than once to trick people into coming inside of its cell. The first was when it took out the light bulb in its own cell, so someone would have to come and report it. Then it faked being knocked out to kill the poor electrician, and then kept his skull as a plaything. Then it was the guard who tried to get a tooth to, put in a Netflix. He deserved to die basically. It played with the guy when he was inside too, raising its tail to psych him out, and eventually it full on smiled, something no dinosaur has done before it in the franchise. And it then bit off his arm, and mentally tortured him for a while instead of killing him straight up, indicating a degree of malice that isn't matched by anything else in the verse, aside from Acid 87, but the Spinosaurus won't really torture you to this degree. It also has its weird obsession with Macy, showing great interest in her, even going into her room to observe her. It's not known if it would have killed her that scene or just get a bit closer, we'll never know, but it shows a degree of interest in.
This thing is the damn boogeyman, bro. What we talking about here? What? I've never seen an evil dinosaur before. Shit.
Humans that goes beyond just food drive. And as for speed, it's roughly between 25 and 30 miles per hour, so fairly quick for something that weighs a ton. So with all this in mind, would Wu's smartest failure be enough to bring down humanity's greatest predator? So when it comes to pure lifting strength, I'm going to have to give it to the Elder Mimic. Its build and statements of having superhuman's level of strength would allow it to likely lift things more than twice its weight. As a matter of fact, the normal mimics are said to have superhuman levels of strength, so the Elder can lift well over a ton if it gets ready. And when it comes to striking strength however, the Indoraptor is going to have to take that, given that it has stronger bite force and its claws are going to be the first thing to be used. The claws packed up with the arms will do some serious damage if the target is large enough. Now when it comes to durability, I might have to give it a tie, or slightly in the Indo's favor. Both are very bullet resistant, with the Mimic having an extra layer of protection just to withstand a certain amount of gunfire. But if we compare the Indoraptor to other carnivores of similar size who could tank explosions and so on, it might take the edge. But on the other hand, Mimics can withstand a very high temperature. Think it's comparable to meat snakes, which can take, between 3000 to 5000 degrees Celsius of heat and not disintegrate. So the initial interaction would be one of pure curiosity between the two. The Mimic would straight up have no interest because it isn't a human, but it would stare the giant reptile staring it dead in the face, and the Indoraptor would just watch this massive human-like thing with dark skin and a pink face.
The Indoraptor would definitely be the one to attack for if it acts anything like the what is it? The Indorex, where that thing was just killing for fun. It definitely Indo might go, man, looks human enough. I'd be alright.
Has a human-like posture, but I think it will know that it's not a person. Regardless, the Indoraptor does not discriminate. If it looks like a person, then it's responsible for its suffering in its own head. So it's going to be the aggressor. but a Mimic's greater agility and speed might allow it to dodge the initial attack, and being forced into a confrontation, it would retaliate. You know what a fight would be like? Something like the Future Predator against the Gorgonopsid from Primeval, but the Future Predator scaled up a bit. Both have the ability to dish out damage, but the Indoraptor's hide in particular would be hard to pierce. Mimic might be able to get through eventually, but the hybrid by then would have already gotten his claws into the Mimic's first layer skin and pierced it to get to more vulnerable spots. And when it comes to bite force, both have powerful ones, but a hybrid is just a good amount stronger, as that would eventually be able to strip the Mimic down. All while the Mimic would try to bite or even punch the hybrid to let go. The only real thing the Indoraptor would have to react to is the Mimic's biting, because blunt force damage really doesn't affect the Jurassic franchise dinosaurs, especially if it's something similar in size or smaller. Look, the Mimic might be just
the Mimic, but the elder Mimic doesn't have the bite force though. Like, unless the elder Mimic can somehow get the Indoraptor appendage like down its throat, pause. Unless it can do that, it can't bite down. No, all of its things is like in its throat. They don't really have any options to like bite down as like an attack, kind of. No. Ah, shit, fuck.
A bit smarter, but it's made to study humans and exploit them, while the Indoraptor wants to run affair with everything, not just people, and eventually during the fight, it would likely figure out that the face is the one weak point, and even without targeting the face, the constant clawing and biting from the hybrid would eventually get through the first layer skin, eventually ripping the Mimic a new one. So in my opinion, the Indoraptor's superior piercing damage, size, and similar or slightly better durability would give it the edge. Now if those claims of 6 SWAT members with assault rifles being needed to kill a single elder was true, then yeah, I might switch the tables, but based on feats and statements for both in their respective verses, I'm going to have to give it to the Indoraptor. But let me know what you guys think.
That, along with the fact that fucking the elder Mimic, it did get shot. If it took a SWAT team to kill that thing and that dude shot it once and it backed off, I feel like that SWAT team thing is like, that's a stretch. That's a more of a stretch, if anything. But yeah, subscribe if you like this subscribe, all that jazz. I post both here on Kemo Studios and, well, here, I'm saying that like I know I'm on here at Kemo Studios, but I post about Kemo Studios and Kaisak. So yeah, if you like this video, subscribe, all that jazz, and yeah, I'm gonna catch y'all later. Peace.